So a lot of people fail at their fitness goals, and it's because they lack a lot of key strategies. But I want to make sure that you guys aren't one of these people, especially in 2025. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Sabelo Moshesh. I'm 22 years old and I'm studying at the University of Leeds. I love business, I love fitness, I love helping people, and I like making an impact in people's lives.
And when it comes to actually being in shape, it's more than just the actual visual representation of you looking good. It comes with a lot of benefits, right? You build confidence with yourself. People respect you because they understand that it takes discipline, it takes consistency, it takes showing up on days in which you don't actually want to come to the gym, and just overall taking care of your health, right? Having a clean diet and being very strict about what you allow into your body. There are many different ways in which being in great shape can benefit your life. So I want to give you a few key strategies in this video.
Step number one is to get your body dashboard metrics. What I mean by that is that most people, and I mean most people, only track their weight and their BMI, but understand that your health is so complex that you cannot just boil it down to those two metrics. So I'm going to give you some statistics that'll at least give you a good indicator of where you should be ranked if you want to be considered in the top percentage of your overall health. And being in good shape, of course. Your surface numbers include your weight, your BMI, which is your body mass index, and your waist circumference. However, your deeper numbers are way more important, and this is your body fat percentage. So the ideal range is between 15 to 20% for men and 20 to 25% for women, right? Another indicator is your blood pressure, your resting heart rate. This is where you should aim for between 60 to 80 beats per minute. And most importantly, your blood glucose levels. This is important for the long-term health. So you might be saying, Sabelo, where exactly can I get these kind of metrics? I highly recommend that you guys visit a health professional. Reason being is that they can give you the metrics that you need to assess your overall health, and then you can then make informed decisions on where to improve. And in that way, you can make smarter decisions in 2025. And now that you know what your health actually looks like, it's important to get into the next step, which is, in my opinion, often overlooked and arguably one of the most important things that you can do for your overall health, and that's walking. So many people think that fitness starts in the gym, but I think it starts with something a lot more simple, and that's walking. I always try and aim for anywhere between 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Now, I know that may be a little easier for me to achieve because I'm in university. I have to walk to campus, I have to walk back, I have to walk to the gym, the grocery store, etc. So if you can find a safe environment in which you can achieve 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day, go for it. But let's dive into the science a little more. So there are two types of cardio, right? So you've got your zone 2 cardio, which is of course your low intensity, which is what I'm doing now. And then you've got your HITT, which is your high intensity interval training. So let's cover zone 2 cardio, right? Which is the low intensity. I personally like to aim for around 60 to 70% of my maximum rate. So I do this 2 to 3 times per week, and I always go for half an hour after my weightlifting session. Reason being is that this is a time in which I'm not exactly raising my heart rate to a very high level, right? It's low intensity, but I'm burning stubborn body fat as well. And what I found very interesting when I started doing this regularly is that a lot of the fat on my face started going away. So I had a lot of fat on my cheeks. I naturally do. I've got a very round face. But what I found was that when I started doing half an hour of low intensity cardio, the fat started going down on my face and my overall facial structure improved. But there were many different things that helped this. Of course, I improved my sleep. I started getting deeper REM sleep by wearing a mouth tape and actually breathing through my nose to make sure that I can get into a deeper sleep state. And I also made sure that my room was very, very cold so that I can at least produce more testosterone and get a better sleep, because once you improve your sleep, your overall performance gets better. And your next form of cardio is of course your HITT, which stands for your high intensity interval training. I always try and do this at least once a week, either on a Wednesday or a Saturday, and this involves a short sprinting session. So it's short, but it's extremely intense. So I like to sprint 100 meters. I've been running 100 meters since I was a little boy, and this is excellent for boosting testosterone, especially if you're a man, but just anyone in general. If you start sprinting at least once a week, I promise you, you start burning off stubborn body fat, and just it is a very quick way to burn fat as opposed to doing any other form of HITT training. So start sprinting at least once a week. And now that you have a very solid movement foundation, the next step is where the real transformation happens. My personal favorite, and that is strength training.
You got a bag and I got a bag, but they know the difference. You talking cash and I'm talking cash, but they know the difference. 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 You got a rape and I got a rape, but they know the difference. Put the machine in 2016, so they know the difference. 2016. The diamonds is shining, the rollies clean, so they know the difference. 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 It's bad and my is bad, but we know the difference.
And When I refer to strength training, I'm specifically referring to progressive overload, right? So strength training in itself is key to building muscle, improving metabolism, and preventing injuries. I've spoken about this before. But when I talk about progressive overload, listen very carefully. It just means gradually increasing the weight, reps, or intensity over time. So a very simple way to start is by choosing a workout split. I'm sure you've heard this in the fitness industry by 1,000 fitness gurus, but it's really important to pick a workout split. So I have experimented with push-pull legs in the past, but I found that over time I wanted to start hitting legs a little more. So I switched to an upper-lower split. So I'll work out about 4 days a week, and I focus on compound movements. So that's of course your squats, your deadlift, your bench press, and pull-ups. This is also very phenomenal for your overall testosterone. And most importantly, you need to track your progress. So back in the day when I was in high school, I actually used a notebook and I would jot down the specific weights that I've hit for that session, and the next week I'd try and improve that. I wasn't really intense in the beginning because I was still learning about my body. I was still learning about the different compound movements. Over a long period of time, I started looking at the trends in which I was hitting these weights, and then once I was able to see where I would plateau, I'd try and get a workout partner to try and help me improve on that weight. So you guys need to allow for at least 48 hours for muscle recovery. So an example of a very simple 3-day/week routine that you guys could follow. On day 1, you could simply stick with squats, bench press, and pull-ups. On your second day, you can do deadlifts, overhead press, and lunges. And on your third day, you can focus on rows, push-ups, and leg curls. Now, weightlifting in itself is great, but if you guys aren't sleeping efficiently, you are leaving so many gains on the table and your overall health is affected. So quite simply, I follow a 3-2-1 method, which is recommended by a doctor. And that's quite simply 3 hours before bed, you don't consume any food. And that's 2 hours before bed, you don't consume any water. And 1 hour before bed, you try and eliminate screen time entirely. But I understand for us Gen Z and us millennials, it's kind of difficult to not indulge in your phone, especially at night. So a big hack that I found is wearing blue light glasses. You can find them on Amazon. A friend of mine actually gave his pair to me and I've been wearing them since. But it's a phenomenal way in which you can at least reduce the blue light and at least start getting better sleep overall. But the biggest hack by far that helped me improve my sleep was sleeping in a cold environment. I'm back home now in South Africa. It's extremely hot. So I have found that my sleep has been a little on the shaky side. But when I'm back in the UK and it's extremely cold, I find that I sleep so much better. So if you guys can't control the temperature in your room, do so. Make it extremely cold and sleep. And I promise you're gonna get the best sleep of your life. And for the final part, let's talk about nutrition. So that's just sticking to whole foods and just trying to minimize the amount of processed foods you have. I'm not gonna lie, I do indulge in a McDonald's burger every now and then. I do order Domino's with my girlfriend sometimes, specifically the Meteor. I even get a lot and I enjoy it. I indulge and I absolutely like my cheat meals. But 90% of the time, I am sticking to whole foods. So when it comes to my macronutrients, especially for my protein, I try and aim for 2.2 grams per kg of my body weight. So example, this is just for anyone listening. If you weigh 70 kgs, eat about 154 grams of protein daily. Of course, you can adjust this accordingly, but when it comes to your carbohydrates, I try and at least stick to between 40 to 50% of carbs in my daily intake, but I always try and prioritize like complex carbs. So I love sweet potato. I did a video earlier this year about how to achieve an attractive physique, in which I went through my entire grocery list. So if you guys are curious on what I eat on a day-to-day basis, you can go ahead and check that out. And in terms of my fats, I always try and stick to at least 30% of fats, throughout my day. And I focus on like avocado, olive oil, especially if I'm trying to bulk. I'll add more olive oil to my foods, especially whilst I'm cooking. So an example of a 2,750 caloric day, if you could say that, for example, my protein would simply look anywhere between 154 grams of protein, and then my carbs, I would try and go for 344 grams, and fats somewhere around the 83 gram range. That's if I'm bulking. And when I'm in a maintenance, I reduce that number, but just try and track your macros. This is why it's very important to track your macros, because if you don't know what your maintenance is, if you don't know what your calorie deficit or your calorie surplus looks like, you're basically firing in the dark and you're not exactly sure where you're aiming. So once you master your nutrition, the final step is to bring all these practices together to create a sustainable routine. Right, and we're rolling. So to consolidate all these thoughts, you guys know that a lot of this advice is generic. Most of you know what you should be doing, but a lot of you lack a lot of accountability, which is why I recommend at least working with someone, whether that be a friend or a family member, someone who can hold you accountable. Because the minute you try and have a mentality of doing it by yourself, especially if you've been struggling for a very long time, it's insanity. You're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So try and work with someone who can hold you accountable. Stick to eating whole foods, stick to weightlifting, get good sleep. It's very, very simple. It may not be easy for a lot of people. I understand bone density and some people are in different circumstances, but I personally think there's absolutely no excuse. You cannot be a person who doesn't take their health seriously, and it doesn't matter about your age. I really, really do think that you can take your health very seriously, and it will improve your overall lifestyle, if you'd like to call it that. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video, and I'll be posting a lot more vlogs like this in the coming future because I quite enjoy the style. It feels very natural and organic. But I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Take care, guys.